All right, so I'm going to make an alternative character. Um, you can see here we made this little character last time. We're going to make like a four-legged enemy robot that you can also, we'll hook it up as our main character just to review certain key principles of how to hook up a character. And we'll actually have the robot jump and we'll create a jump animation. So I'm just going to go to the top here, do File, New Scene, and I'll save this one off as it is. I want to make sure that my settings, I'm going to click this little Dunkin' Donut or settings and preferences character, and I'm going to change my units to meter, and I'm going to go ahead and save that. And I'm going to go up to the top here, create polygon, and then I'm going to go to cube. And actually, let's just, so it's more uniform, let's turn off interactive creation and do create polygons and then do cube. Let's hit R and scale this down and move it up. And actually, let's jump back into Unreal really quick, and we're just going to use the default character as our sort of a blueprint for what we want to base the scale on. So I'm going to jump back into Unreal, and you'll notice you have a characters folder here. And let's grab mannequins, meshes, and anyone you want. Just right click on it, and I'm going to pause it while it loads. And over here to Asset Actions, I'm going to click on Export, and I'll just throw mine in Documents, or I'll throw it on the desktop and then just hit Save. All of these settings are fine, they don't really matter. And then I'm going to go into Maya because we really just need the mesh, and I'm going to hit Import and go to my desktop and grab that Manny character. And you'll see that the character is kind of big. The units are scaled a little larger than you would see in here. So you can see here that our character is fairly large. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete the joints here. I don't really need them in there. And this Manny character, I'm middle mouse clicking and just dragging it off. This isn't a necessary step, but it just sort of isolates the character. Now I'm hitting F as in Frank or Francis or whatever, just so that I have that. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to right click and add selected objects. And I'm just going to hit R, and what that does is it allows me to not select it and just makes it a reference model. This character is going to be a four-legged, one-eyed monster, and we'll have it shoot lasers from its eyes when it attacks the main player. And again, you could make this the main player if you want, and that's sort of the goal. So with this cube selected, as I mentioned in the previous tutorial, I make everything out of cubes. So I'm going to go up to the top here and change it from rigging to modeling. I'm going to go mesh and then smooth. And just here. You can also hold the shift key and then right click, and you can go down to smooth here. And I'm holding alt and left clicking to rotate just in case. So generally, let's say I want this character to be about this high, right? So I could really, in all intents and purposes, just delete this character here. I don't really need him. Looks like there's multiple LODs, so I'm just going to select this whole group and then delete them. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to hold Shift, and this is going to be like a four-legged robot. So I'm going to set that as one leg, and the way I'm going to create the cylinder part of the leg is I'm just going to move this up, hit R, flatten it, move this to the center, grab this, hit R, flatten it, and scale it up. Now I want it to be on the grid, so I'm going to hold X and just kind of pull it up. And that sort of snaps the unit. I might scale this down just a little bit here. I'm going to hold Shift and to duplicate this, and I'm going to right click, go to edge mode, double click this edge here. Holding the Control and backspace key, I'm going to delete that edge. I'm going to go to vertex, hit R, scale that down, and just sort of move this down into here. So this is sort of like the shin of my character. I'm going to grab the head, hold Shift, and do just sort of make a knee joint. This. And actually, let's go ahead and turn on wireframe. And I'm going to make a hip joint here, so I'm going to hold Shift and just sort of move this off at an angle or axis here. And then maybe a little bit lower, hold Shift, bring this up, hit E to rotate, and again, position it something like this. I'm going to hold the R key down, which is the rotate key, and the left mouse button. I'm going to go to object. So it moves my locator or my axis. Same thing here. I'm going to hold the W key down and then hold the left mouse button and go to object. And you'll notice it changed the direction of my locator so it matches the direction in which my cylinder is facing. So kind of scale this down, just playing with creating this little leg here. So let's move it down like this. This can get a little tricky, so just keep going until you've got to position something like this. Maybe we'll move this over just a nudge. Let's make this a lot bigger, actually. All right, so what I'm going to do here is just select these. Let's make the knee bigger too, so it encompasses all of that. And I'm just checking to see if I can get this to be a little bit lined up better. Something like this. So let's hold shift and combine the leg. Sorry, I keep kind of changing things. I think it'd look cooler if we had a much bigger leg piece there. All right, kind of like a footprint. Same thing here. I kind of want to make this a little higher. And the reason for that is mostly aesthetics. When we go to rig this, it's not going to matter. Let's get this over just a little bit. Just trying to get it lined up as evenly as possible so that we have something like this. Let's move this up a little bit like this. Now, ideally, what you want to do is go in here, right click, go to face mode, and just delete all the faces that are not going to be seen. So here's another one here, face mode, highlight all of it. Let's hold control and select, or shift rather, deselect those middle ones and then just hit delete. Oops. Let's undo that. Holding shift. Let's go to object mode. There we go. Now I'll hit delete. You know what it might be? We have to select it in object mode first, then go to face mode. Yeah, then press delete and it won't act so weird. Alright, looks good. So let's go ahead and select that hip. And each one of these legs, shift right click combine. Now what I'd like to do is rotate this all the way around, like duplicate it. So I'm going to hit the D key, and that allows me to move my locator. And then I'm going to hold X and just snap it to the center of my grid down here. I'm going to hit D again. Now what happens here is, notice that we need to clean this. We have some inputs, so I'm going to do edit, delete all by type history, and then modify freeze transformations. And I'm going to duplicate or make a copy across each axis. So I'm going to go to edit, duplicate special here. And I already have a -1 here. Let's make sure we're on copy. Now when I hit apply, it'll move it across this axis. Now I'm going to select both of these by holding shift. And if you'll see here, if we want to go across the z-axis, if we add a -1 here, notice it flips across that way. Now to create the little eye, I'm going to center this a little bit better here. I'm going to, let's scale this up a lot more actually. Let's make them a little more menacing. I'm going to hold shift and copy this. This is going to be my eyeball. Go to vertex mode and just flatten. Let's isolate that just so you can see a little better. I'm going to flatten this out and maybe scale that up. And then I'm going to grab this, scale it down, and that'll serve as my eyeball. And what I want to do is, these are all compartmentalized, and notice they also have a -1 here. We don't want that. We want these to be zeroed out in all ones. Select all 4 of these and then do modify and then freeze transformations. I'm going to hold shift, select this head here, and I'm going to go to mesh combine. And it looks pretty good. I mean, I might even, I would even kind of move these out a little bit more, but I think for now this looks pretty cool. And And we're just like going to throw some joints in there. All right, so that's this video. In the next one, we're going to go ahead and render, or rig this rather.